Oh, we're going to throw it back, way back, October of 1996.
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, gang, DP here, Locked On Huskers. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. I'm like a kid in a candy store today. We got a good one for you because I need to go back in history. I wanted some understanding. I had questions about throwing the bones. Before we do that, Mark Onweiler, tell them about Betterhelp.
Thank you, DP. This episode of Locked On Huskers is sponsored by Betterhelp. Sometimes in life we're faced with tough choices and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnCollege today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnCollege. DP, back to you.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate it. Again, I appreciate you. If you have not clicked the button to go and subscribe, please do so. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. And for you every day, or as you folks come and hang out every day for the 20 plus minutes or so, it is appreciated. Thank you for doing what you do. It is a Tuesday before Beat Minnesota, and it becomes this thing where the energy shift has officially happened. Like the climate change is official. People are trying to get into the right mental space, the right emotional space, right? Are you willing to put your heart back on the line again, to trust the Huskers, to love you the way you love them? And a part of that, the Go Big Red chants, and we know that those are important. And then, the Hail Varsity, we practice it. We hear it in our head. As a matter of fact, there are people who have it as their ringtones and folks who have it as the horn on their cars. So Lincoln is starting to pick up all the energy behind it. But then in doing that, my curiosity took me back to a place. And on 93.7 The Ticket in Lincoln, Nebraska, Adam Carricker does a show. And he always closes it with "throw the bones," and he only says it in a way that Adam Carricker can say it. But it led me to be curious about it, about what is this thing. Now, on Monday, the announcement of the black shirts, and it always sets like it. I can say this about Nebraska. It is consistent that a third of the people will celebrate in full. Black shirts, woo, confetti, let's go, boop, boop. A third of the people, really? Like, what are we doing? Like, did they get the right people? What's the history behind it? Why does it matter? And then the third in the middle that tends to go to, you set the temperature of the room, right? You set the temperature. There's the climate, and then there's the thermostat, and then there's somebody in the middle that really just kind of goes, okay, we'll determine whether we're hot or cold or not. So then the question was, well, what's the right thing? And throwing the bones is always a debate because I had questions. So I'm going to ask you, Husker Nation, to go on this journey with me through throwing the bones in the black shirts, right? We know that the black shirts go back a little further, right? You go back in time. And that history is renowned, but the idea and the persona and the standard of being a black shirt has evolved over time because throwing the bones wasn't always a thing. They weren't always a thing. And to find out, okay, well, there is a beginning point, led me to ask more questions, right? Because the idea behind it was at a practice back in the 90s, a reserve walk-on player made a play defensively, and he had an action. And he threw the bones. And Jason Peter was the leader on that team, asked, well, what in the world is that? What'd you just do? Like, I've never seen that before. And he explained it to him. Now he was perfectly and wonderfully Jason Peter in the color of the language used. And he asked, what the bleep is that? But the Kozad, Nebraska linebacker made a play, threw his arms up in an X. And he goes, what's that? It's the bones. And the quote is, I told him that I was taking it because, well, that's just us. That's the black shirts. And if I didn't take it, it's going to be stuck here in the practice field. Nobody will ever see it. He didn't care. He was happy and he wanted to use it. Throwing the Bones made its official on-field debut at a home game against Kansas, October 26, 1996. Early in the third quarter, Jayhawks quarterback Matt Rhule drops back to pass 3rd and 20 in the Kansas 10. Jason Peter, wearing a cast on his right hand, discards the center, dives in for the sack. Go back and watch the tape, and it's easy to miss, but Peter crosses his forearms twice and 2 quick X's. He said, I did it that first time and maybe in the rest of the year the way Matt had done it. But at some point, whether it was the end of 96 or 97, I changed it to where it was the repeated action of hitting the forearms. So instead of just hitting he actually hit him. Throwing. Flashing the bones. Throw the bones. Throw the bones. Now, that only led me to a couple of things. This is where it led me because I'm curious. And there's a big discussion over whether throwing the bones is just a defensive thing. I asked some questions, and I'll go through these questions, and we'll try to get to some answers over the course of this thing. As it says there. I had to figure out which direction it was. That we need to set some sort of ground rules. So in the next segment, we'll go through this. But I asked this question. Is there like a black shirt Bible of all the rules, all of the commandments, all of the things that should be that? So put your black shirt commandments down below. I came up with one just because I'm around Jay Foreman all the time. J 5644. Thou shalt not offensively throw the bones. Terrell 4343 says, never pick them up after you have thrown the bones. Like, we need to come up with the full gospel. We need the black shirt gospel of all the things. And then we need to pay tribute. We need to pay tribute to a pioneer. Nebraska football, one of the great unspoken, unknown heroes in Nebraska, not only Nebraska sports history, specifically Nebraska football history, but one of the greats, one of the pioneers who changed the way we watch games, celebrate games, and identify each other on the street. Throw them the bones. One man deserves a high five and a throwing of the bones. We'll talk about that when we come back. Welcome back to Locked On Huskers. I'm just letting you know the mood is crazy because I'm just trying to breathe it all in. Again, thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen. Before we go too much further, Mark Onweiler, please let them know about FanDuel.
Thank you, DP. This episode of Locked On Huskers is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season's about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win during the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and start earning your bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. DP, back to you.
Thanks, Mark. And if you were a betting person, would you know the answer to this question? Who created Throw the Bones? Who was the first to do it? And some of you will spin in your mind that it was Jason Peter. Yeah, it's Jason Peter. But there's a Husker who is a pioneer, and I'm fully efforting that at some point this season, it'll be my campaign. Bring back the bones thrower, number one. The bones thrower. There's only one. There's got to be a first guy. There's one bone thrower. The bone thrower. Like, we were joking that he should be flown in via helicopter or something into the Memorial Stadium. Like, let's celebrate him and said, okay, every 90,000, everybody stand and throw the bones. Like, you know how they dot the I for Ohio State? Right? They dot the I. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, right? It is a big deal to have them do the I, and then somebody comes on and he dots the I. Well, every home game from this day forward, there needs to be a designated bone thrower, and the first one, like just before first kickoff, right after Hail Varsity plays, or right before Hail Varsity is played. We need this Husker to march out to midfield, just march up, like full on stride. Yes, he's wearing a black shirt, 100% wearing a black shirt. Although, out of curiosity's sake, being he was a walk-on, I'm not sure he ever made black shirt. Right? So, irony, hilarious. But I think every home game, it should be somebody, and then you could have an honorary bone thrower. Right? Bring back a former Husker, a former black shirt. Every home game. And they walk out to either before Hail Varsity or after Hail Varsity. And then up on the big screen, they're up on the big screen. And as soon as either the first note or the last note, he throws the bones. And 90,000 people throw the bones at the same time. I'm pretty sure it would register on the Richter scale. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, David just go, oh, yeah. For whatever reason, every home game, Nebraska sets some seismic record just by throwing the bones. Like, what's the largest number? Like, they should break the Guinness Book of World Records this year by having 92,000 bones thrown at one time. Like, let's go full on to the record. Like, let's set the record. Like, we're 2 days away, a day away from Nebraska Volleyball Day, where they will set the record, the world record, for the most fans attending a volleyball game. And I think that's a record just for volleyball, not just collegiate volleyball, but volleyball in general. I don't think volleyball's ever been played in front of 90,000 people, right? May also be the biggest number of people attending a Scotty McCreery's concert. Like, I'm willing to bet that's the most tickets sold for a Scotty McCreery concert ever. But fair enough. But this will be another opportunity. If 99 people, we march out, and the name is this. I asked if you knew who the person was who threw the bones first. Matt Hunting. Matt Hunting is the correct answer. Was a member of two national championship teams, 94 and 95. Joined the Huskers in 94 as a walk-on. Was a weak side linebacker. Played 5 games during his 3 years. After his junior year, he decided to pursue other interests. Played football for Cozad High School in Cozad, Nebraska. And I think, as a pioneer, what Matt Hunting deserves, he deserves a shirt, but he also deserves to be the person who, there's two sides. One, you could have him throw the bones. But the other thing, you could have an honorary Go Big Red chant guy, right? That somebody comes out. I mean, I think Eric Crouch could get the crowd pumped at Memorial Stadium, right? Right? Have him take off at the 1 yard line and sprint to midfield. Like, they're different things. Like, you have Matt Davidson, like, catch a football in the end zone. Like you have Kenny Bell hit some random opponent in a fake jersey that you just have him run over him. You know, an electrical wood action before a game, and it would set the crowd off. But Matt Hunting deserves to be at midfield in front of 90,000 and just march up to the spot. And of course, the appropriate thing would be X marks the spot at Memorial Stadium. Is there a place currently on the field that where the bones are thrown? That wouldn't be bad. And this would be a really good year, of course, to throw the bones, game towels and headbands and hats. Those, I don't know if they're being sold now, but again, $1 million ideas. I'm just giving them away today. So just put your pen out and write them down. And for you creative folks, go ahead and put them out there and let them know that Matt Hunting deserves the flowers. He deserves the praise. He deserves the love. We'll throw the break. When we come back, I'm just going to let you know there are questions and rules that we need to clarify, because I'll ask this question: what's the proper way to throw the bones? Oh, Adam Carricker, what have you done? You did that. You and Jason Peter and Matt Hunting. You've thrown me just straight down the rabbit hole, them all the way in, trying to figure it all out. I want to close the episode with this just because I want it. Like I was asking Husker fans, what are the rules? What are the gospels when it comes to throwing the bones? And I was told that the hands can't, like I shouldn't have my fist on my chest. They should be up and away from the body, right? And it shouldn't be a wrist to wrist. It should be forearm to forearm. Then I asked the question, because I'm right-handed, so I'm not sure what the natural flow is. I was a baseball player, so I switch hit. So if I'm standing a certain way, I can go either way and feel good, just as comfortable. Some would say, well, don't put the fist, because I always want the fist to the heart. And no matter whatever tribute, that my fist to my heart is the sign of strength and power. So I think throw the bones in that I would want to do that. But no, I'm told to throw them away from the body. And then the question becomes, which arm should be inside, closest to your body? Now, there seems to be a full-on debate about this, that there is no right way to throw the bones when it comes to right arm, left arm, or left arm, right arm. There's no right way. But there are some variances and things that are in play. One, they suggested the very first picture of Jason Peter throwing the bones, they're away from the body and elevated. Elevated. So throw them. Now, the question becomes, do you hit the bones and hold it, or do you hit the bones? Or do you continually throw the bones? I'm open to suggestion and idea, because there are things that I asked. Are offensive coaches allowed to throw the bones? Let's say it's a game-winning touchdown against Iowa to win the Big Ten Conference Championship. And the offensive player, right? Let's just say, for the sake of this, Jeff Sims runs for 50 yards and Nebraska clinches the Big Ten Conference bid. Would Jeff Sims be allowed to throw the bones? Like I don't know the rule. Is Marcus Satterfield allowed to throw the bones? He's an offensive coach. Is he allowed to throw the bones? Are offensive players allowed to throw them on the sideline in a game to a defensive player? Or could they throw them to the fans? Or could they throw them at opponents? Like if you go full on Kenny Bell and you knock somebody out from Michigan, can't he throw the bones at them and stand over them, and we would all be fine with it? As a matter of fact, if he was fined, we'd start a GoFundMe for him. I think that's all fair. But as it currently stands, and I'll ride with this and I'll finish with this because out of tribute, I'm not sure, so I'm asking. What I know to be true is this. It is a defensive thing, and they like to hold on to their toys. So we'll leave with that defensive players can throw the bones. And I'm not sure there are rules on how or why. Who is definitive? It's a defensive thing. Adam Carricker, thank you, kind sir. For you, I'll close this episode with two things. One, throw the bones. Go Big Red.